Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Looking for Love in All the Wrong Dust Jackets, a show where three old biddies from up in the Midwest talk to you about our favorite romance, whether that's in movies or books or who knows whatever other things we might like to talk about to you about. My name's Liz.
I'm Danny.
And I'm that Wiggles with, yeah.
Also,
what is happening right now?
Also, I feel a little personally attacked by being called an old biddy.
I was including myself in that.
I'm aware, but I'm the oldest of us.
Look, what you...
I'm that old big old tittle bitties.
We do have those, yes.
Yeah.
Whatever, man.
You can't...
I'm compact size over here.
You can't have big old tittle bitties if you're not an old biddy. It's like part of the combination.
It's true.
Okay, we're keeping that. So...
I expect nothing less of you, my dear.
Today, we are going to be talking about the 3013 series, specifically book 11, Genesis. But before we do that, let's go ahead and do the usual. First and foremost, we're crass, we're loud, we're rarely ever appropriate. So that's what you're in for. Just a general warning. If you don't like that, if you don't like people swearing at you or with you, you don't like talk about the sexy times, we might not be for you.
Yeah, do what you want with your own earballs, but this is what we're doing, so.
We embrace Meredith Brooks' song, Bitch.
All right, then.
It's just a fucking peanut gallery
bitch,
over there.
I'm a lover.
No, I know the song.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But before we get into the book, we're going to talk about what we've been doing with our lives lately, specifically what you've been reading, watching, the huge. Talk to me.
I went on a Good Place binge. I mean, I know that's nothing shocking for me. I binge the same things I've seen over and over and over again. But I definitely went on a Good Place binge this weekend.
Well, I'm watching Ted Lasso, like the rest of the country, and I'm addicted. So the two of you need to get on that so that I can talk to you about it with more authority. Because literally that entire cast is sexy as hell. How do that's impossible, and yet it is. The people who get it will get this, but like Trent Crimm is hot. But Trent Crimm's hair is hot in and of itself, right? So like that I'm obsessed with. I have a crush on Trent Crimm's hair, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Anywho, the other thing, I read the next in the Stay a Spell series by Juliet Cross, and that was really good. It's which one is that one called? The Witches Get Stitches. And so that one was fun, enjoyable. Arguably even more wall sex energy than the last one. So like she's delivering the goods. That's all I'm saying. So we maybe need to add some cross to our repertoire.
I read Priest by Sierra Simone. Boy, was that a trip. I was into the taboo, like forbidden love stuff. Wasn't as big of a fan of the ending, but that happens. So if you're into the idea of like what happens when you fuck a priest, read that book. And then I also finished Marriage of Inconvenience by Penny Reed, number 7 in Knitting in the City. And it was pretty good. The end kind of went on a little long, but I definitely should have read the previous books before this one. So I'm actually circling back in the series to start at the beginning. Okay. Now on to the next. Do we have a synopsis and or author rundown to go off of today?
So basically, for a synopsis, there's a girl. Her name is Maya. She is extremely wealthy, and she is a designer that works for her mother and her father's. And she has kind of been watched most of her life. She has guards and everything, so she feels a little suffocated. So she decides that as a business plan, she wants to move to another... It's basically a space station called New Vega. It's kind of Las Vegas in the sky, to open up a shop, a branch shop of the company that her mom owns, and to design clothes for that. So she gets there and they kind of have some tete-a-tetes with the owners of New Vega. And yeah, shit goes down. Wiggles, tell us all about the author.
Okay, so this is what I've been able to find. Laurie Roma lives in Chicago. She writes contemporary romance, romance suspense, and in the case of the book that we're reading this week, sci-fi romance. In this series, the 3013 series, there is a new book that was released in February. That's the 3013 Justice. So look out for that if you like this book. She likes immersing herself in a good book and enjoys the pleasure of creating her own books. She usually can be found tapping away on her keyboard, creating worlds for her characters while she listens to music. She likes to create playlists that impact her mood, so that's all fun. She loves tough alpha male heroes and strong heroines that have brains as well as beauty. Her novels are filled with both passionate romance and down and dirty, lust-driven interludes, as she believes both are essential to a good love story. She loves to hear from readers. And so if you want to contact her, her email is laurieromabooks@gmail.com. There you go. That's a little bit about her. She also, if you like her books and you don't want the sci-fi element, you're looking for maybe like a magical kind of thing. She has another series that's Misfits of Magic and Bad Boys of Ever After. So you can check those out.
Good
so
to
that's
know.
Laurie Roma. That's what I know, which admittedly is not a lot. She, like, her Twitter is very, like, curated posts and things like that. So she doesn't put a ton of herself out there, which is
Fair enough.
we're finding to be true of a lot of our authors.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Should we get into the book?
Let's do it.
To start off with, because this is the 11th book in the series, not the first one, which we jumped to solely because I was like, ooh, I like that one. Sorry, girls. So basically the premise is that the Earth got into a big war. They were attacked by a kind of bug alien species, and it caused a lot of issues with reproduction and everything. So all women get tested at the age of 10 to see if they're fertile or not. And then they get a little tattoo on the side of their face by their eye that is either a star if you're infertile or a scroll if you are fertile. And then basically men get to claim you if you're fertile, essentially. And they also tattoo your face with their initials.
I don't know how I felt about that.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know. But
I think that would be an over my dead body situation.
so what I like about it, so this is about Maya Spartan. In the very first book, it's the dragon warriors come to Earth and everything, and it focuses around a woman who is infertile, and she ends up being their mate and everything. Maya's older brother is her commanding officer. So Jack Spartan is her commanding officer in the first book. And like the interesting thing when you read through all of these, because they don't just stick with like, we're the fertile women. That's not the way it is in these. And I actually really appreciate the fact that it's not, you know.
Every book's goal isn't to make babies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of appreciate the fact that it's not all just about the fertile women and everything, you know. But one of the things that is kind of pointed out is that women that are infertile can be preyed on a little bit. So like her commanding officer, not Maya's brother, but her commanding officer is basically trying to get her to, she's supposed to like play liaison for all these men that are coming, these big men that are coming from another planet, which is against regulations. And when she kind of points this out to him, he's like, oh, well, you know, I could maybe change it if you came away with me this weekend.
Ugh.
And this is the very start of the
Gross.
book. And she was like, I'll take the assignment. And she turned around and walked away. Well, what he didn't know is she recorded him and walked straight to Jax because he was in charge of everyone.
Get that motherfucker.
And Jax lost his goddamn mind. But yeah, so there's the whole of this series kind of goes through these different worlds. And it most of them connect with people you've already talked to before.
The first one sounds interesting. Since Wills and I only read the 11th, I did feel lost in the beginning.
And I apologize. I didn't think it would be it'd been a long time since I read the book. I didn't think it would make you feel as lost as it did.
Yeah.
We should have just stuck with the first one, and I'm so sorry.
No, we tried it.
No, I think it was okay, honestly, because my first clue that I was going, there were going to just be things that I didn't get was like the like dedication area. I don't know if it was like the true dedication, but she said something along the lines of, for those of you who were like looking to specifically have a romance for these brothers, here you go, I hope you like it.
Yeah.
Like something like that. And I was like, I don't know who they are, but I guess I'm gonna find out.
It's because I think it's book 3. The main character is kidnapped from New Vega.
That did come up.
Yep.
That came up. And I was like, if you say so.
Yep. And it's Jack Spartan's wife that got kidnapped.
Oh.
That'll do it.
Okay, so maybe just a fair warning to everybody out there. It might be better if you start at the beginning.
I'm sorry.
No,
it
no,
was a bad decision on my part. I
don't think it was a bad decision. I think like a lot of books like this, and like when we read Ice Planet Barbarians, I thought maybe it would have been better to start at like a different book because like there are better books than the first one. But I could like, if you would have done that, you would have understood it, but you wouldn't have like gotten, I think, maybe as connected to the premise.
Yeah, which I think is probably what happened here, and duly noted for future as far as we're concerned. Like, have I read all of the previous ones before this one? Yes, I have, because I went through quite a rabbit hole at one point in this series.
Well, I mean, so here's the thing. It didn't bother me that much because as much as the side characters are semi-relevant, they don't actually have much in terms of mattering to the plot.
Yeah.
So like they're there, but like you could change the side characters to be anybody and it would be the same plot. So
correct.
I think the only reason that it matters is if you care about the interconnectivity. If you're reading it just for the sake of I want a quick romantic story, I don't think it matters. In the same way that like you can jump into a television show where you know that all of the characters have a backstory that you don't know yet, and that's fine. So honestly, that did not bother me. But maybe I'm in the minority here.
No, I don't think so. I think it's just like it depends on what you care about, right? And like for me, world building is high. And when you say sci-fi world building, multiple alien races across the universe, wars, and like planets and like interspecies relationships, I'm like, give it all to me. And I didn't get enough of it, so I just needed to go back and read the other ones.
I think if it depends to me on like what kind of book I'm reading. If I was reading Lord of the Rings and I jumped to Two Towers, I would shit myself trying to figure out what the fuck was happening. But with a book like this, I was just sort of like, oh, okay, so there's like some backstory where like this guy doesn't like this guy. Got it.
Well,
like,
and
that's
they
fine.
do try to like explain it as they go along. It's just a lot to put in. They kind of they mention something and they kind of like halfway explain it a little bit,
Which makes sense because if you're somebody who's read all the other books in the series, why would you want to reread for the 11th time the building of this world?
Yeah. But I do like that they do like at least make an attempt to be a little bit, to explain a little.
I got the point. I got the premise real quick anyway.
Yeah. Like it was still pretty easy to understand like what was going on and like what the main like things that you had to understand in order for this world to make sense were. And what I kind of liked about this book, and I assume is true of the series as well, and I think that this is one of the things that I did like about Ice Planet Barbarians as well, that I don't think I really mentioned because we went on a whole tangent about the coldness. We had things to say. But these kind of books are modeled after a style of book that we would see more in Westerns. And that's often why like romances and Westerns tend to be like seated next to each other in a bookstore because they're serials, right? Like you're picking up them on a very episodic like kind of thing where each one is a conclusion to its in and of itself but carries over into the next one. So I can watch one episode of this thing, but I probably would enjoy it more if I kept going. And so it's the same thing for books where it's a little bit more is going to be more enticing, a little bit more is going to be more enticing. And so I think that that's a really interesting model to have for your romance novel style, as opposed to, say something like I know she doesn't call it a romance novel, but let's call a spade a spade. Outlander's a romance novel.
Yeah.
But this like huge chunk of a book where it's like, let me give you so much all at once. You know, I think it's really interesting to break it up into these little pieces.
The one thing I did really like, though, was the aliens were... I couldn't tell if I liked it or if I didn't like it, but like they seemed very clearly modeled after monstery creatures that we would recognize.
Mm-hmm.
So it was instantly, it was easy for me to fall in lust with the Kratos, I believe is how you pronounce the race of our male characters here,
Yes.
because they were like, they had black eyes, they had fangs, they were slightly larger, they were very muscled, and I was like, are you some sort of vampire demon thing? And can we fuck you? And she said, yes, we can. And so we did.
Yes.
Yes. I definitely, but they have tails.
Wait, they had tails?
No.
No, they didn't have
Did you
tails.
not-
No.
You missed that whole section.
There was no
didn't you?
tails.
There was no tails.
There was a tail.
There was not a tail.
I'm pretty confident.
There was not a tail.
Not in our guys. I think there was tails
No.
in other guys.
There's tails in other guys.
I mean, I read this very late at night.
There was no tails.
Did you want there to
Maybe
be
I
a
just
tail?
wanted there to be a tail.
I mean, we always
We could
want
always
some
use
tail
more
action.
tail action.
Damn it, now I gotta fucking know.
I thought there was a tail at one moment. Maybe
pretty
I'm
sure there was
totally
not
batshit
tails.
crazy.
I don't think so. I mean, there are a bunch of other races, so somebody could have had a tail.
Well, I'm pretty sure the
they
Helios
had
have
tails.
tails.
The Helios.
I thought
have
it was a
tails.
moment with, is it Damon or Damon?
I think it's.
I thought it was Damien. but
I
could be wrong.
always imagined Damien.
That's what I thought too. But then I was like, there's not enough consonants for that.
Well, fuck it. I'm saying Damien.
Okay.
I searched on the Kindles for the word tail, and it did not come up one time.
Okay. Then I was just, it was a fever dream. It was a hope. It was a wish.
Like, I know you want them to have tails. We all want tail action, but
Everyone
it's
should
not a
have
thing.
tails.
Yeah.
Damn you, Lillian Lark. You've set the standard.
God damn it.
We're all fucked now.
It's true.
Yes.
Or unfortunately not.
Unfortunately not.
Although, like, here's the thing, though. If someone came at me with a tail in real life, I would be like, absolutely not. You've been dragging that on the ground. Ew. Are you
they're not
fucking
dragging it on, like, I mean, maybe some are dragging it on the ground, but a lot of them either hold it up or wrap it around their waist, or there's called baths. I mean, clean yourself.
But okay, let's be clear about something. Like, apparently, okay, so I'm going to segue for a minute. Apparently, during COVID, men's bathroom lines suddenly, like, magically surged up to be super long, and people couldn't figure out why. You know why?
Because they
'Cause
never
started
washed
washing their
fucking hands
hands
before. Yeah. Ugh.
Flah!
But I mean, let's be clear. There's a lot of things that happen in these books that I'm like, oh, really? That like, if somebody tried in real life, I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, that's the reason that it's like fantasy.
Yes.
It's not just because of the mystical,
Yeah.
magical wherever. It's because you get to suspend reality. I don't have to worry about whether or not you cleaned that thing before you put it in that person's mouth.
Right, exactly. So that's why it's like, we need to keep this in fantasy land. I don't want the reality to happen.
No, no.
I'm not prepared mentally, physically, emotionally, physiologically. No.
What did you think of our boys? So we have Maddox, Damien.
It has to be Damon, I think.
I think it's Damon. And then
Favorite? Oh, go ahead. Tavis?
Tavius?
Do you know that I for sure decided his name was Travis and to say fuck it?
That's fair.
Fair enough.
I was like, I'm done. I'm like, every time I tried to read it as Tavis, I was like, Travis. Okay. So, favorite boy on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Maddox.
Damon.
Wait, what did you say, Wills?
Same as you.
Always.
This is the second time we've
What can I say? I
FMMM.
like an aggressive boy.
Yeah,
and
had
then
the same guy.
And then Danny picks the older alpha bro.
Yeah. Interesting.
I mean,
Interesting.
it says a lot
I'm
about my
sensing a
taste
pattern.
in men,
I-
which is why I'm single as fuck.
I don't think it says anything about my taste in men, though, because I don't know. The thing I liked about Damon is the very first scene where she spends time with him alone, and they're just like walking around and she's being all bubbly and cheery. And he's just like, I don't know, just like kind of like blue screened watching her.
Yep.
I was like, you are fucking adorable.
He's so excited.
Yeah. Well, and I like that he's not so aggressive.
Exactly.
He's like, I'm going to take my time. And one of my favorite moments happens when she finally comes to him.
Yeah, because he actually is like the one that talks to her.
Well, okay,
Like-
to be fair, there's a big portion of this book where none of them
Oh, yeah,
are talking to her, and that's the biggest problem.
Yes.
But I
Right.
kind of like that they point that out, that is the issue.
Right.
You gotta fucking talk to me here, bro. Like, tell me what we're doing.
That is true. How many times have we complained about if you would just talk, that would solve all your problems?
And that is what
And-
they did in this
and
book
then-
after they finally... And actually, that's kind of in the first book as well, is they had a misunderstanding and they have a talk, like they talk it out. And I really appreciate that about it, because it can't get
Right.
better if you don't have the discussion.
Although I gotta say their discussion was brief.
Well, yes,
'Cause
it's
I
still a
even,
romance
like, put in
novel,
my
so
notes-
pickles.
He was like, Maddox was like, wait, I can't let you go on any longer. I'm like, she said 3 sentences, my guy.
Well, it's supposed to be because they didn't realize that she didn't understand what they were doing.
That is true. I appreciate somebody who like stops, listens, and quickly understands. Like active listening, boys and girls, is a very attractive trait.
Very much a moment of, oh, we were being an ass and we didn't realize it.
I see where we fucked up.
I see where we fucked up. Let's fix this.
To clarify where they fucked up, because we sort of like jumped that pace.
Yeah.
So they decide that they're like, yes, we're on board. Make this one collective as a team. Let's go.
And to be fair, they did ask her. She just didn't really understand what they fully
they specifically used language they knew she didn't know and then didn't clarify that language. So they're in the wrong for sure. But like only when their cousin is like, so they called you what now?
meant.
Does it come out and she's like, the fuck? Bitch, we're fighting now. I'm about to, like, I know I can't, but I'm gonna kick your ass. I will, because you won't hit me and I will absolutely hit you.
I will say they didn't do the like final thing that would have like actually bonded them together.
True. But
But
still,
they made their intentions quite known that this is what was happening. But
Except
yeah.
to her.
except to her, yeah.
except to the one person it matters to.
That's it's simultaneously the funniest and most horrifying line when she was like, "Oh, well, apparently my cousins decided to mate you and not tell you." It's like, huh?
Well, here's the other thing. Like, I understand that this is like 3013 and we know aliens exist and that's great. And like everybody's like interspecies go time. But like, there's also got to be a little bit of anxiety of like, I don't know what fucking mating these guys looks like, man.
Right?
Like, what is that? What happens to me? What, like, bruh.
Yeah, I
can't just,
definitely
like,
would have been doing
decide.
research in that the second I got involved with them.
Especially because they kind of made it sound like that species, the Kratos, with a Y,
Yeah.
are...
I like it like crayon, so Kratos.
Okay. So they're not as well documented is not the right word, but like they're a little bit more...
They keep things closer to their
Elusive.
chest about their
Elusive,
about their species. Also because they don't have a home planet anymore, so they're just spread out all the fucking over.
Yeah, I got that too when they told it to me, and I understood it.
I'm so sorry,
yeah.
Liz.
No. I'm really interested in this universe right now. And I was just like, she'd mention things in passing, and I'm like, what does that mean? I know it doesn't matter to this like romance fucking thing, but we'll put that aside. What does that mean?
Although I really liked it when things like were so simplistic that you were like, oh, this is modern technology right now. Like they were like, hey, computer. And I was like, oh, so in the future, things are still run by Alexa. Got it.
Well,
Yes.
to be fair, that's what
Got
they
it.
use in Star Trek still.
Yep.
It's just like, sup, computer. Oh shit, I shouldn't say that. My Alexa's called computer.
Oh no. To be fair, that bitch sometimes doesn't respond when you're standing right next to her.
And sometimes she responds when you say not anything related to her name.
That is true. I have a Google clock in my bedroom, and sometimes it just talks at me, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I didn't say anything to you, bitch.
Like, getting back to when they first meet each other, because I think that probably will clarify some of this. So Tavis meets her getting off of the ship, right?
Shuttle, yep.
And is like cranky about it from the start, and then he's like, hello, sailor. Like,
He gets
I will
the
take
stairs
a
on
piece
real
of that.
hard.
Yeah, he's like, this is good, this is good. And then goes to his brothers and is like, by the way, we're gonna have this, and they're like, sure. And he's like, no, for real, we're gonna have 3 slices of this delicious pie. and it's funny because like they all like have these like little moments where they're like, I'm gonna get to know you a little bit, and she's just like, it's so weird and interesting that these business owners who basically own this entire space station are like totally like so into my life and getting me acclimated here. They're just so nice here.
She's very sheltered.
Well, wasn't it one of her guards or somebody that was like, yeah, because of your family, look at who you are.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and that's the
she's
thing.
like,
So,
"Oh,
like,
yeah."
I usually am not like a big fan of the whole like I'm a virgin thing in the
Mhm.
romance novels. This is kind of an exception one for me, and it's because it's not like she'd like pulled the I waited for the most perfect person ever. It was I couldn't get the fuck away. Like,
Yeah.
I have never been able to be alone with somebody.
yeah, I also don't like the virgin innocent trope. I agree with you though. Like, it at least made sense this time.
Yeah, it
you know,
wasn't for like a dumb everything's perfect reason. Why am I sound so bitter like that? Sorry. It's not the, I need to have everything perfect reason. It's the I have been forced into this situation kind of.
I have guards with me all of the time.
Mhm.
How am I supposed to get to fucking?
And like by
Even
admittedly
her dad is like, we didn't give you any opportunities to meet anybody.
Yeah.
And
that's what I
she's
was
like,
yeah,
yeah.
like she has admittedly well-meaning parents.
Mm-hmm.
They panicked because she has all brothers.
Yeah.
And so she thought she needed to be protected at all times. And yeah, her dad was kind of like, oh, fuck.
I did get some really weird, like, Regency era vibes, though, when all of that was happening. I was like, this is like some high class lady in London who isn't let out of anybody's sight ever.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of shift back to like in the first book, you
Mhm.
meet her parents in the first book as well because her mom's owns the company. One of her dads helps her run it. And then her other dad is like an ambassador for Earth and everything. And they're powerful. They're extremely powerful. But like a lot of the kids that got sent to like the academy and everything where they get all their enhancements and stuff after they're 10.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, especially like non-fertile women, their parents just kind of abandon them.
Shit.
There's like a whole dark side to this book
Yes.
or this world.
They just kind of leave them at the academy because they're not any use to them is kind of how it's stated. But her parents always brought all of them home for all the holidays and everything.
Mm.
So like, yeah, she has her siblings, but then she also has like all the kids at the academy that didn't really have anywhere to go. All came back and lived with them on holidays and stuff.
I will say, getting back to the virgin thing.
Yes.
Because, like, it's fine. It's not really something I care about, but, like, it's not my favorite for sure because it's, like...
It's not my favorite either.
Even in
but-
this context, it's, like... It's gross anytime a guy gets excited about a girl being a virgin. There's just something about that that's very
Yeah.
disgusting to me. But by the end of this book, I was like, I swear to God, if I read the phrase innocent of males one more time, I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm so sick of it. It's so gross. Stop saying it. I can't. I hated it so much. It was just like one of those, like, I didn't know I was offended by it, but now I am.
I will say she does have like, so when you're reading, at least I didn't notice it the first time, but I do notice it. So they always, when they're talking about humans, they say men. But like when they're talking about are bad boys and like the Helios and everything, they talk about them as if they talk about them as males and females, which is more kind of, I think it speaks to the animalistic side of it a little bit more. And
Well,
that's why they do that.
She had a mishap, our main character Maya, in the beginning of the book, where she at least thought of one of them as a man and then immediately went, nope, not human, male.
Male, yeah. So
Right.
there is a specific reason for that.
Yeah, this is one of the few
Yes.
instances I don't mind when somebody calls somebody like a female or a male
Right.
because it makes sense.
Yeah, there is a reason for it because they are more animalistic.
Well, not even
and
that. It's
stuff.
just like human and woman are like
Yeah.
more attributed to.
Right.
Yeah.
It just gave me the heebie-jeebies.
I mean, I get it.
I was just like, oh god.
I
stop
will
saying
say
that.
the moment that she lost her virginity, a lot of times when they do like the virginity trope thing, they like focus on the pain she felt, and she really didn't do that here.
It's true.
Like she
Well-
focused on getting her he focused on getting her ready so he didn't hurt her, but like there wasn't the oh my god it hurt situation
Yeah.
thing that didn't come, and I do like that.
Yeah, because I don't want to hear about how it hurts.
No.
Yeah.
Like,
Like I
that
don't mind
doesn't
when
turn
they
me
always
on.
because like a lot of
No.
and this is
Dries up.
super I can't believe I'm going to say this. A lot of romance novels when they're doing the spicy scenes, the only thing that I'm like super cool with the like hurting is when they talk about I feel the stretch, like when the like
Sure.
slightly uncomfortable stretch and everything. That I'm
Yeah.
fine with, but like I don't want the outright pain. Like that's fucking
Yeah.
bullshit. Gross.
Or like really intentional pain that has nothing to do with your hoo-ha.
Yeah.
Like that's fine.
Oh, yeah. If you're like into that, that's a different thing.
Oh, yeah. No
That's a
kink
totally
shame.
different thing.
I like me some spanky. I don't like a lot of pain.
Just because we're on the subject and let's get it all out of here. What did you think about when the threes did all the three thing together?
I liked when the threes did all the three things together. Wiggles.
Okay, so I liked it. Okay, I need to back us up just a little bit to explain the one thing about it that I didn't like. The like blowjob thing weirds me out. The,
Yeah.
like, your brain will fucking explode with my cum. It's like, what, man? What? But like, you think that her organs are gonna be fine? Like, that's not how that works.
Well, they explained it that they come so fast and hot that they'll choke.
That they'll choke. And I was just like,
Yeah, no, I did never really like that. But I don't
yeah.
like any sort of blowjob scene. I'm like,
I just didn't think it added to it, right? Like,
no.
I'm totally here for explaining sexual experiences in fantasy or sci-fi where there are uniquenesses that that are, not human, but that one just felt like it didn't make sense. Like it just like felt like out of the blue.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I didn't particularly like that coming back then in that scene where I was just like, oh god, okay. Yeah. But other than that, it was fine. I don't know if it was just the way my brain was imagining the scene, but it felt like Maddox used a lot of oil. Like a lot. Like just like I was like just slathering her with oil. And that was the only other thing that I was like kind of took me out of it. I was like, she's like a seal now. Just like, what have you done?
I mean, yeah. I never
But
thought about
other
it.
than that-
The oil never concerns me.
No,
Well,
I'm usually
it
like,
wouldn't have concerned me, except that she talked about it for so long, and she doesn't talk about anything for very long. And so to have her talk about it for that long, I was just like, God damn, that's a lot of oil. That's a lot. I don't think that, I just like the description, it seems like too much oil. That's all I'm saying.
Can't have too much oil for butt sex.
I mean, I think like it's too much. I still think it's too much. Like,
Some of it would
He's
also
like,
be
"Get the
absorbed by
oil."
her skin, I'm sure.
some,
well, you
but
have
like,
to-
unless she's got the driest skin on the planet,
I suppose
like,
also it would depend on if it's an oil-based lubricant or a water-based lubricant.
Well, he specifically said oil though, so I assume it's an oil-based lubricant.
Yeah.
But you have to
Also,
remember that neither
water-based
the
is better
penis
for you.
nor the anus are self-lubricating, only the vagina is. So if you're going to be putting one thing into another thing that, really don't fit that great together naturally, you need a lot of aid.
Correct.
So clearly I am going to declare this. Clearly this is a dystopia and not a utopia, because we here back in 2023 have re-lubricating lubrication and they don't in 3013. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
I mean, you're not wrong, but
So this is a dystopia. I've declared it.
there has been a lot
Whether
of
or not
wars
the
that
author
have
knows.
happened, Wiggles. A lot of wars, a lot of famine, a lot of death that has happened in this world.
Excuses.
I'm just saying. It was.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm also really confused why she didn't understand that anal sex was going to happen.
That one caught me off guard. Like, I've read the book before.
Yeah.
And I guess I blocked that out of my memory. But, like, she literally came from a society where being married to multiple men is, like, the norm.
I definitely had a moment where I was very, very afraid that the way that this was going was that they were going to try to trip dick her fucking badge.
Oh,
and I was
God.
like, if that happens, I'm out.
Even I can't focus on those gymnastics. That would be weird. And I would be trying to figure out how they even, like, work to get that to happen.
I was just like, please God, don't let this be how they do their mating. I won't be able to handle it. There's a threshold and I found it. It's there.
Also, I don't know, this is just a me thing, but the idea of having multiple people that you have to like hang out with, I'm just like, that's too many people. And this is nothing against people who are polyamorous. Like, you do you.
No, you do you.
Of course. I support
Good for
whatever healthy and consensual choices you make. But I'm like, that's too many people, man.
I can barely keep myself happy. And you want me to go and make like 3 other people happy? That's a lot.
Yeah, I've moved on from sex now, and I'm just like at the hanging out part. Like,
man.
Oh, I went to lunch with Maddox yesterday, so now I have to go to lunch with Damon.
Yeah, no, see, that would be exhausting to me. Like,
Right.
the sexy times, sure, fun, let's get down. But I don't want to spend time with all of you.
The schedule was the part that stressed me out. I was just like, so I don't get a fucking minute away from you guys?
That's where I got stressed out too. I was like, so all of my time is being consumed? What if I want to take a bath by myself? Okay. I don't need one of you there.
Yeah,
just
that
need some me
sometimes
time,
a
my
girl
guy.
just needs to wash her fucking hair.
Well, she even says like at one point in the book that when they like go out with the girls, that was like almost a little bit of a fight. And I was like, literally just going out and seeing other people is a fight. That means this bitch is never getting any alone time.
Well, the other thing is one of those girls that she was hanging out with was their fucking cousin.
Right? Well, to be fair, their cousin's a little bit
Oh, yeah. I love her cousin.
crazy by their society standards.
I love her cousin. Their cousin.
Yeah. I love the introduction to Kala.
Yeah.
That's what I was reading that as. Is that she's like beat up a bunch of elites.
Yeah.
And because they like tried to hit on her, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah, they got
that is
handsy,
the
so she
correct
put him in
reaction.
the med bay.
Yeah, that's
I would
the
read
correct
her
reaction.
story. Does she have a story?
I believe so, yeah.
Nice.
Probably.
Nice.
I don't think it's possible. I feel like the introduction, it's one of those things where like if a character gets introduced and has like more than 3 lines, that they're getting a book. That's what the book series feels like to me.
Gotcha.
Pretty much.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Okay, so the one thing I didn't like, so we talked about her innocence, and that was like, story-wise, it was fine because she gave a pretty decent reason for it. But the thing I didn't like was some of the insta-love, especially when it, like, the author called herself out on it, like, after she had sex for the first time with Maddox, and she was thinking, like, my friends told me that you're gonna fall in love with the first guy, like, you have sex with, but I love him.
Not
And
true.
I'm like, no.
Yeah, and so this is very telling because this is a book that I read multiple years ago and had you guys read now with me again, is how much I've grown in what I like. I used to love the insta love, bullshit
Sure.
that you're meant to be together, and I've become more realistic in my romance reading. That's a little depressing to say.
I wouldn't have minded. I don't think that's depressing. I think that's just reality.
No.
But
That's just growing up.
I wouldn't have minded if she would have put more conflict between them in there. Like, the conflict existed with the whole mating
Mhm.
but not telling her thing. And there was plenty of conflict between the brothers and like her guards and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, if we could have like built a little bit more of that up,
Yeah.
I could have been here for it. And a little bit more romance. I wanted dates. I wanted to be charmed.
I think that if you're going to do insta-love, I think that my request, I guess, of authors is that they quit jumping to immediately romantic insta-love. There's a lot of different types of love out there.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you could insta-love somebody without immediately being like, I want to jump your bones. Like the lust could be there, but like it shouldn't necessarily be, I want to be with you for the rest of my life. It could be, I insta love you in the sense that like I am enamored with you as a friend. Like I just think you're so cool. I also think you're hot as fuck, but I just think you're so fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
That is something I would read just for the
Mhm.
sake of it being something refreshingly different.
Or that whole concept of like, because this happens all the time where people meet and they're like, how do we just click so well? Like we like
Mhm.
everything. We can talk really like well together. Awesome conversation. I would be more here, more there, more everywhere for that.
Mm-hmm.
The only time
sure.
that like the insta love doesn't bother me so much is when it is like with the species or whatever, like with shifters sometimes
Mhm.
it's like a biological thing that they
Right.
boom feel that way for each other. But the only way that makes sense usually is if they're both shifters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
but then
that
it
doesn't
also,
always necessarily mean that they have to like each other all that much.
Right. That's one of my
Right.
favorite conflict is the
Oh, yeah.
fated mates where they don't get along.
Yeah.
Because it's that enemies
Mhm.
to lovers, but like we
We're
have
stuck
to
together,
be together.
because fuck. But
Right.
yeah, that I love. I love it when they're just
Mhm.
like, oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
This,
Right.
damn it.
Which speaks to there being different types of love, right?
Mhm.
They have the lust love, but they don't have the romantic love yet, and they don't have the friendship love yet. They have to earn that. And so it's like, give us look up different types of love. I don't remember what they're all called because they all have like these nice little Greek names that are cute. But like, just explore something a little bit different instead of giving us insta love, because it just feels A, like a cop out, B, unearned entirely throughout the rest of the book. Everything that happens afterwards, I'm just like, okay.
And I think that's the reason I liked that scene with Damon so
Mhm.
much, is because it had the insta love vibe, but it felt realistic. Especially as
Which
an
one?
like when he first like goes out with her and just like follows her around.
Mm.
I can't remember if he was just like leading her. Oh, he was showing her which shops.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because he was becoming enamored with her because she was just like is so excited, and I understand that in a moment where somebody is super excited about something that's going to be a big thing for them, and kind of really just enjoying their
Right.
happy moment,
Yeah.
and being drawn in by their excitement.
Well, and it also shows like the extrovert introvert combo pairing or whatever that actually comes across really well,
Mhm.
where there's somebody who
Mhm.
is allowed to be comfortable in their silence, just existingness, because the other person is there and taking up kind of some of the social energy.
I will say one of
Yeah.
my favorite moments with the two of them is when he like drags her into the back room because she's got space sickness, which
Mhm.
actually I really appreciate the fact that that's a thing, because it would take a fucking toll on your body.
No, once that
Mhm.
actually came up, I was like, oh, this makes a lot more sense. I wish she would have brought it up more or
Yeah.
earlier, or like made Maya like sicker even.
Because I was like,
Mhm.
I appreciate that, because it would
Mhm.
majorly take a toll on your body. But when he like drags her in there and she gets like huffy with him and she's poking him in the chest to be pissy with him, and he's just like, stop that, you're gonna hurt yourself. And she's like, I'm not telling him, I already did. I'm like,
Yeah, their scenes were
Which-
cute.
Yeah.
I also really like Maddox's scene where he finds her working with the like dyes and stuff that hurt her hands, and he kind of loses it a little bit.
I mean, I feel like he was definitely a little over the top there. And not like he was obviously over the top and overreacting, but I mean, like, I felt like the writing of it was a little over the top.
Yeah. It was almost a little soap opera-y at like a certain point where it's just like, if I was sitting in that situation, it would have been really hard not to just laugh.
Oh, I would have laughed my ass off of it. I'm like, dude, it's
Yeah.
fine, but
Yeah.
There needs to be more conflict with him and his stalkeriness.
oh yeah,
Because I thought that was a
Mhm.
really good thing to bring up. And I have to say, these three brothers remind me a lot of our boys from Deceived by the Gargoyles.
hmm
But
They do, but not necessarily. They're not in the same order. I mean, Maddox kind of
hmm
it makes sense in the same order, but I would say that the other two brothers have switched places.
I don't know about that. But I wish they would have gone more into his stalker issues because it was a good conflict.
it is a good conflict. It would have been a great conflict to be like, hey, quit fucking watching me. Although I do really enjoy the fact that he like blew her cover when she was trying to like figure out how to seduce Damon.
That was pretty funny. That was actually really
That
funny.
was my favorite scene, actually, of the entire book, because I'm a big clusterfuck fan. That's like my favorite, honestly, thing, is where a bunch of people who are on a different trajectory than they should be on, just like find themselves in the same spot at the same time. That's my favorite. So like a really, really good example of that is, have you guys watched the movie Crazy Stupid Love?
No.
I believe I have at some point.
Okay, well, that clearly needs to be on our list because fuck. But just like in general, that thing of like everybody is like off living their lives, and whatever different set of circumstances has led them to now all be in the same space at once. I find that so funny. And so I really enjoyed it. And I also enjoyed that he like walks to the door full boner. And I'm like, bro, you can't be like, I don't know what the rules of decorum are in your like world, but that's not okay.
In his defense, specifically where they was closed off to everybody but Maya and her guards and his brothers. But
True.
I'm kind of impressed that like she stood there for 10 full fucking minutes before Maddox was finally like, "You okay?" Like
I mean, yeah.
I'm just wondering cuz like you've been there for a while. And I'm like, "What, you just watched her there for 10 minutes?" You know, if you happen to see, I'm not endorsing his stalking whatsoever, because absolutely not, sir. But if you happen to notice, because you're doing work at that desk or whatever, and she's standing there, why wouldn't you just like send her a little message, not like call her? Be like, "You
Yeah.
okay?"
Because these boys have no chill.
Yeah,
That's
they don't.
why.
Well, and then he also stalks her to the point that he like knows what all of her food orders are. And I agree with her, with Maya, when she says in the book, I don't think she says it out loud to him, I think it's just her narrative, that that's not going to work. He needs to actually get to know me by talking to me and interacting with me.
Spending time with me,
Yeah.
not stalking what I purchase.
And again,
Mhm.
that would have been a great thing to actually have a scene where they talk about that.
I agree.
Although I will say, so Maddox, for me personally, has one of my favorite lines of the entire book. When they do finally like decide they're going to do this like claiming ceremony, and they let her do like her tattoo on them first. Maddox shifted so he was on his knees directly in front of her. "Claim me, Tava." That was the first time I was like, yes, I like you. I'm on board.
I will agree. I did really like the fact that in a lot of these, it's like a "you're mine, show me you're mine" dark thing, but it goes both ways. Like she says it a lot to them too, like "you're mine," and then that claiming ceremony as well. So it felt a little bit more like it's all, everybody says it, and then it's cool.
And I will say it in the in most of the other books, not all of them, obviously, because some of them don't have like humans as protagonists, and the tattoo thing is part of the human thing. Culture at this point. They usually do, the men usually like get a tattoo of their own.
When I learned about that, I was kind of okay with the tattoos a little bit more. Because like
Yeah.
if you're getting tattoos together, then it's okay.
Yeah.
But if just one person gets a tattoo, then it's like a branding thing.
I just never appreciated the fact that they had the tattoo on their face.
Yeah, I know.
That's where I was always kind of like, why did it have to be like,
Yeah.
because it could even be like on their collar or some, collarbone or side of your
I
neck
don't know
or
why you
something.
wouldn't want it to be secret.
It's because the government is showing people. The tattoos are a part of a government order.
Does that come up at all as like a weird thing?
Not
Because
really.
it feels very Handmaid's Tale to me.
It is a little Handmaid's Tale.
It
This
is.
was, yeah. It is a little Handmaid's Tale on that one. Because, like, yeah, they're
Yeah.
tattooed at the age of 10 on their face. It is, like, the device just, like, prints it on their skin. And so
Yeah.
it's no hurt. It doesn't hurt or anything. But, yeah, it's kind of... I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, that I didn't like. But the one thing we haven't talked about, and I need to talk about it, is the whole fucking name of the book is Genesis. And it just kind of comes up at the end, right?
I know.
Yeah, it's very much like this like thrown together plot, and you're like, okay. And okay. So, Liz, I need you to say what you need to say, because I got one huge fucking beef that happens during the Genesis like thing, and I have a feeling you have the same beef.
So I don't know about that. Right now I'm trying to remember what the fuck this bitch's name is. And
I renamed her Morgana in my head, if that helps.
did you? I didn't think about that at all.
Yeah, I rename characters a lot. You shouldn't trust me with character names pretty much ever.
Okay, so essentially what happens is this lady shows up at like fucking 80% way through the book, and she's on New Vega because she's trying to steal this Genesis drug from Commander Macy. I think it's Commander Macy. And which seems a little weird to me that he is transporting an extremely volatile drug, and yet the owners of New Vega knew nothing about it. I guess maybe it's just like a super secret like government-y thing.
Yeah.
But
Because technically they're not under the authority of the like Alliance government either, so heads and tails on that one.
And this drug is like a there's so many drugs like this in like sci-fi, but essentially it's like the fucking rage drug, right? It's an airborne thing. If you breathe it in, your zombie brain rage. So she shows up and Maya clocks her and like tells the boys to run after her because this bitch is trying to steal this drug. She does steal this drug, and then she lets the drug loose on New Vega, and there's a whole fucking like scene where Maya has to go break into the medical unit, offices, whatever, to get like a sleep drug because you can sleep it off. It's just up until then, like it lasts for like an hour, a couple hours or whatever. You're gonna murder everybody. And my gripe with this is it comes out of nowhere. Is it one of those things that if you read the other books, it made more sense? Okay.
So it's slowly built through all the books.
Okay. Then that probably, and then it probably doesn't come out of nowhere because it is mentioned.
But you know what? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's mentioned once a little bit earlier when she's meeting with Orion. And he goes into this full description of what's happening. And I'm like, this seems very out of nowhere. Why do we care about this? And then it comes up later and I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, no, it is something that's slowly built through all of the books, and I completely forgot was a thing until I read it, and then was like, oh, fuck. These bitches got no clue what's going on.
Yo, I was so confused.
Because, it's little by little through each book, so it makes more sense and everything.
That does help clarify that, I will say, but it does not explain the fucking cat. At all.
Oh, I'm
Where
still
did
upset.
it come from?
That was actually something in my books.
What is its genesis? Because it just, all of a sudden, there's a cat attacking her in the middle of this, like, I'm gonna go disperse this drug in the medical center. There was no explanation.
It's because it's the one that got knocked unconscious by their cousin in the bar.
Yeah,
she was taken to the medical bay.
Oh, like it's a humanoid cat?
Yes.
Yeah. No. So the
it's a
Helios are shifters.
I did not read that
and
way
most of the time they are like fully in almost cat form.
I just read cat and thought there's like a mountain lion in here.
No, it's one of the Helios. She got knocked out at the bar.
No, this scene I understood.
Oh yeah, no.
I was so fucking confused.
You read this too late at night, my love.
I was literally like, bitch, where the fuck did a cat come from?
Yeah, no, she got. I was like, what are you talking about? Sense. They literally explained how she got there and why she's there.
Yeah, there was a whole scene previously talking about it.
Okay, but in my defense, the language that's used in that scene, and this is, I mean, I will admit, I'm about to segue into my biggest gripe about this book overall, right? The language in this scene does not clarify that shit at all. It's just assumptive. And it's just like, there's a cat. And you're like, what the fuck? There's a cat.
They did tell you it was Liana on the bed when she got in there.
Yeah, but like, you gotta remember a bunch of fucking names that don't matter, and like, that's not how my brain works. Here's the problem I have with this book, and it's like, it's a little insurmountable for me, is that this book has all the approach of writing of a YA novel, that it just put spicy scenes in it. And so it's like the language choices, the plot devices, they're a little convoluted because of that. But all of that would be fine, I guess, except that the author doesn't know how to manage point of view hopping and does it mercilessly.
That was my biggest gripe.
She does point, and I forgot that about these books, is that they do point of view hop. They don't do like what most romance authors do, where they do it from one person's point of view for one chapter and then it switches. Or even if it doesn't even break the chapter, usually they stop and have a pause to tell you whose point of view you're jumping to. And she doesn't do that. Yeah.
There's sometimes where I swear to God it happened in middle of a paragraph. Yeah. And I was like, what am I fucking reading? And so for someone like me who already jump reads because of the way my brain works, this was like really hard to get through. Like Lizzie and I were talking about how long a read it was through a brief like text conversation we had. And it was like 4 hours. And I was like, oh, cool, 4 hours. Great. I will get through this in like no time at all. And it actually ended up taking me like 6 hours to read because of the way my brain works.
Oh, it took me like 3.
Yeah,
I cannot, when I constantly have to go back, which is how I have to read a lot of the time with a book that's well structured, right? Is I have to go back and I have to be like, okay, did I read that correctly? Okay, good. With this book, I constantly was going back and going, what the fuck is happening? I don't know what's going on 97% of the time. And so if I am getting plot points wrong, it's a direct result of the way the author has chosen to write this book.
No, I get that.
So yeah, Wiggles, I completely understand why the POV jumps are problematic. They weren't as so much to my brain, but I also have ADHD, so, yeah. And I'd read it before. But I also read it when I was quite a bit younger, and I did forget that it did that. So I totally get that. I kind of agree now. It's just something I didn't think about when I was young and dumb.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
Well, and that's why I think that it was sort of written in a almost like a YA style.
Yeah, and I mean, it was also written in, I think, 2015.
Sure.
Yeah.
This does definitely feel like a book that if you are reading a lot of YA and you're looking to get into romance, the actual smut might have maybe a little bit more mature themes, but the style of writing seems like a good jump.
Kind of a nice graduation up to it, even though it is, I mean, it's not the spiciest novel.
No.
But it's got some decent, like, scenes.
This is what I will say. It's not that spicy, especially for the first, like, 70%. And the spiciest scene is the one where they full on all 4 of them are together. But it's very brief and it's not explicit. Like it is in that it describes that they are having sex, but it is not explicit in how the sex is happening. And we've read a lot more explicit books by leaps and bounds.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, I do wish there would have been more descriptions of the spicy scenes, but I get it. Not everybody is here for like all of that. I am, but
same, but yeah.
I see. I have a lot of room for the variety. I don't necessarily need it in all of my books. Like, really, you asked me once a while back why I haven't brought up the Mercy Thompson books, and that's because there's very, very little spice in those books. And when it does happen, it's sporadic. Like, I can't even say like, oh, it's going to be spicy in every single book, because it's not. The last one I read had almost no spice, if it had any at all. I think maybe they kissed.
Hey, sometimes a kissing scene is real good.
It's true.
Yeah.
I love me a well-written, like, up against the wall kissing scene. Ugh.
Oh, yeah. A good passionate kiss is better than bad sex.
Yes.
Every day
Agree.
of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Agree.
Every day
Both
of the week.
in real life and in books.
Oh, yeah. The kind of kiss
Correct.
that makes you just want to climb them like a tree because it was that good a kiss. Oh, fuck, I
Yes.
love that.
I still love that book and I still love that series, and I love a lot of series that don't have any spice in them but are still very adult.
Mhm,
and I
sure.
think that right now there's been a shift, and I don't know if you guys have felt this, but I feel like there's been this shift conversationally where everything is, but how spicy is it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's fine. That's a good metric, I guess, if you're trying to if you're like, I want to read a book that is spicy, or that's not really what I'm in the mood for.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, what I want to know is it a good book? Is it a book that's going to be satisfying? Is it a book that's going to evoke emotion? Is it a book that's going to make me feel, at the end of the day, it was my time well spent, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally get that.
So yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
All right.
Woo!
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to our rating since we were just talking about spice. What does spice in book do?
I'd say it's probably like a 2. It's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not high. And I would also say that, like, we've had the conversation of, like, some books have like a higher quality.
Yeah, quality
even
over
if they don't have
quantity.
as yeah. And so, like, I agree with the 2 for sure.
I would definitely agree with the 2. Yep. Romance?
2.5. Like, didn't do a lot of like datey things. The only thing that I really kind of like is the fact that they were kind of always just checking in on her but not being a nuisance to her while she was working, you know what I mean?
I did like the idea of somebody just coming up to me multiple times a day to be like, you need to rest, because I want somebody to tell me to rest and take naps all the time. And then I can just be like, well, I have to take a nap because I was told. And then I get to take more naps.
Well, and just Damon like working on the building and stuff, because that's something that
Yeah.
will be helpful to her and he can still be around her and everything, and I kind of
Mhm.
like that.
I do. Yeah, I would definitely agree with like a 2.5-ish.
Yeah.
I think that the author tried in a very specific moment, which was when they presented her with their, like, big bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, here's this special knife that was our mother's knife, and this is our room now. And by our room, we mean all of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was too late in the game for how long the book was and how much space we had to fill. I think that some of that romance needed to start earlier in order for us to have a higher rating on it. So I would go with a 2 on that one as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Overall.
I think on Goodreads I gave it a 3, but I kind of wanted to do 2.5, so that's why I gave it a 3, because it's kind of a 2.5 for me.
I'm sitting at a 2, but I think it could go up after talking to you about, or to us tonight, to the world, to
Mhm.
the universe, about all the shit that I missed by not reading previous books. Because, like Wiggle said, I think plenty of people could just like grab this book and read it and be fine. But
Mhm.
just the person that I am, and I want to know all the backstory, I wanted all the history, I wanted all the culture and the world building. That kind of was a need for me.
And that is the thing. There is a lot of world building through the books. And yeah, that was my bad on.
I don't
was
think it's a you bad. I think it's just one of those
No.
things where like different people want different things, right?
Well, and
Mhm.
I just forgot that
Mm.
that how much they actually
build off each other.
build off of each other, because like I said, it had been years since I'd read it. I just remember liking it, and so I thought, well, fuck yeah, girls, let's do this one.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, and I like the idea of exploring something that we loved previously and just examining it, because it's interesting how your perspectives shift.
Yeah.
Because I obviously, like, there are book series that you've loved as you were at a different point in your life, and you look back at them now, and there are book series that I'm afraid to read again because I don't want to ruin how I felt when I read them the first time.
Mhm.
Yep, there's plenty of book series that I won't ever touch again for that reason.
Yep.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Wiggles, what's your overall rating?
For me, this is a 2,
Mhm.
which I know is kind of harsh, but like, it was just really hard for me to read, like I said. And I don't expect every author to necessarily accommodate everybody, but there are writing conventions for a reason.
Yeah.
And it was just really hard for me to get past it. And so that's the best rating that I can give it with that confine that I have.
I mean, I don't disagree with that. Like, you shouldn't choose a higher rating in this instance, especially with what you're talking about. I just find it really interesting because we all talked about a bunch of things that we liked and a bunch of characters or plot points or potential plot points, but we all kind of gave it a 2. And I think what that really just comes down to is, for us, and we've talked about it before, you can have a lot of stuff that's great, but if you don't flesh it out and make it flow well, that's kind of seems to be our biggest universal gripe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, just because we give it a 2 doesn't mean we didn't enjoy the book.
Yeah, there were things about it that were enjoyable. But for me, especially because I have to attune myself to writing convention in order to be able to read, when you don't adhere to it, it makes everything so much more difficult to enjoy. And so then I struggle to enjoy it, but then all the other gripes sort of like compound then on top of it.
Yeah.
What would have maybe been a molehill becomes a mountain because it's starting at a higher elevation of griping, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, I gotta be honest though. I think I might go back and read the first book again. Because it sounds interesting to tell a story about like fertility and the importance of it from somebody's perspective who isn't. That actually sounds really interesting. And then also just to get the beginning of the world building.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are y'all's recommendations?
Mine, honestly, would be to go in and read more of the beginning books so that you have more understanding of it.
Yeah, that makes
because
sense.
she really does like suss out things, each thing. It's like a big plot, and that's how it goes. I forgot that, and I apologize, my loves, but it is still a good book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wigs.
So my recommendation, if you like this book, is to go play the Mass Effect series.
You bitch. I specifically wasn't going to say it because, no, listen, you entered this. I wasn't going to say the Mass Effect series because even though I got fucking Citadel vibes or like whatever you go to in Mass Effect 2 where there's the fucking like stripper club everywhere, I got vibes the whole thing, but I was like, that's a video game that has decent plot points and has
and
romance like points that you can take through the whole series because you play the same character.
Hello, Archangel Garrus. You can't see it, but she's blushing.
Oh, she's so happy right now.
I don't understand how you kiss him, but I wanna.
I don't know why
He doesn't
I
have
still love
lips.
Caden, because it doesn't make sense. I think it says something's wrong with my brain.
Anyway,
Liz,
I'm sorry.
what's yours?
I don't know. I'm just envisioning.
She's lost in Mass Effect right now.
Yeah.
Seriously, though, you should go play that game.
It's a great fucking game. I will.
Series.
Sorry, yeah, the series. You can skip Andromeda if you're kind of like meh. It's new characters anyways. Who the fuck cares?
I still have never played it.
Dude, I have it. You can
should.
borrow it.
You would enjoy it if you like Red Dead fuck me.
Red Dead
Fuck me
Redemption
sideways
2?
running.
I
If
do
you like
enjoy
killing
that one.
things,
I do.
and you like plot, you would enjoy this game.
The mechanics are better in Red Dead than they are in Mass Effect, but Mass Effect is an older game, so
Fair enough.
It is an older game, especially the first one
first
and the
ones.
fucking Mako.
and they didn't even fix it when they remastered it. Anyway, so I think my recommendations are, it feels a little cheap to recommend books that we've already read, but I would recommend The Ice Planet Barbarians, and not just because like it's another sci-fi romance, but it has a lot of the same like high value on women, and like there's a lot of overprotectiveness, especially in the later series, and like the barbarians have to learn that humans didn't grow up in their society, and so they want to be more like active. They're not like, the women want to go do things. They're not just going to sit at home. So I would check out that series.
Perfect.
All right,
Awesome sauce.
let's get out of here. Thanks everyone for listening to our podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Check us out on all the socials at Wrong Dust Jackets or at Wrong Jackets on Twitter specifically because they hate longer names. Or check us out on our website at wrongdustjackets.com. Thanks so much. Check you later. Deuces.
Bye.
Goodbye.
I'm sorry, I'm in a weird ass mood tonight.
We all are. It's fine.